Hello, podcast listeners. We know podcasts are a great way to catch up on a program that you may have missed on KSJE, and it's provided as a free service of this radio station. But you know, KSJE is now listener-supported, and so while you enjoy this podcast, we hope that you'll also take some time to join KSJE. Become a member today. It's quite easy to do. Just go to our website at ksje.com/support and pick the level of support that best matches your budget. Thanks again for listening. Here's your podcast. Well, let me turn to my guests who are here with me this morning, again, to help kick off our series on National Hispanic Heritage Month. Caro is here. She is the director of the Enlace Center and Latino Center here at San Juan College. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Buenos dias, Scott. It's a pleasure to be here with you as we begin our celebration of National Hispanic Heritage Month and Independence Day in Mexico today. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. It's great to have you back on KSJE, so thank you for being here. And also joining us here in our studio, Travis Wade is here, professor of English here at San Juan College and creative writing. Travis, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Scott?
I'm well. Thank you for coming in. And
Thank you
this
very much.
idea, I wish I could take credit for it, but I can't. It came from the two of you to help kick off this great event of talking about poetry. And that's one of your fortes, Travis Wade. And
Yes.
Arlie, you're here too to talk about Spanish poets, Hispanic poets, and as we talk about National Hispanic Heritage Month. So to start off, let's talk a little bit about that. And Travis, you've selected a few to share with us this morning, correct?
Yeah. So I was thinking of how to kind of commemorate the Hispanic Heritage Month, and I decided, based off of kind of the idea of translation, translation being really big in poetry, I figured it would be interesting if we could read some Hispanic poets and then read the translations, so the Spanish, obviously the original versions, and then the translated versions. And so I got with Aurelia and asked her if we could do some translation work, and then we actually decided to put on an event that we're hoping for October 7th.
Right.
At 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. We're hoping to get some student involvement. So any students who would be interested, they can always email me or come to the humanities department. But we're just going to do some back and forth translations of some poets that people may have never heard of before.
Okay. And they are, can you name of them for us this morning?
The few that we have today, we have Olga Orozco, Marjorie Agosin, and of course Pablo Neruda.
You have to include him.
It's
How
hard.
could you
it's
not?
hard for me not to.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know, I'm familiar with Neruda, but the other poets, are they modern poets? Are they poets from a few years ago? I'm showing my ignorance, and I apologize.
No, that's okay. Olga Orozco is actually an Argentine poet, and she began her career in the 1940s. She passed away in 1999, and she's kind of a lesser-known poet, but she won some major awards. And then Marjorie Agosin is actually, she's still living.
Okay.
And she writes some young adult fiction as well, and won the 2005 International Latino Book Award for young adult fiction. So, we have some contemporary and some a little
Excellent.
bit more classic.
A great variety for us this morning. I appreciate that very much. And Neruda, of course, was a Chilean poet, and he lived during the Revolutionary time in the 1970s
poets,
and passed away. I'm trying to remember now.
1973.
Thank you.
Poet, diplomat,
Yeah.
Politician. A lot of controversy around him even nowadays. His body was exhumed so they could see if he was really
Wasn't sure how
if
he
had
died.
of natural causes or whether he was poisoned.
That's been some of the controversy.
Yeah,
so.
definitely.
But wrote lots of poetry.
Yeah, and
about lots of different things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Politics. He did some odes. One of my favorite poems, he did an ode to an artichoke, which is one of my favorites. And then he obviously his love poems were well known.
Yes.
And he won a Nobel Prize for literature in 1971.
That's right. Very true.
So, yeah.
Well, let's get started. I think folks are tired of hearing from me and they want to hear from the guests. So we will turn things over to the two of you, and I'll ask you maybe a couple questions after the poems, but let's start with your selections. I can't wait to hear them.
Sure. So first I'm just going to give a little background,
Please.
Just a little more background to the poet, just so a little bit more context. So Olga Orozco was born in 1920. in March 17th. Like I had said, she had died in 1999 on August 15th. She began her career as a student of literature in the Faculty of Philosophy and Letters at the University of Buenos Aires. She joined a group of writers that published their work in the literary magazine Canto, which later would be identified with the Generation of 1940, which was a writing group. In 1964, she won the first municipal prize for poetry, and one of her books had won the second municipal prose award. And in 1971, she received the grand prize of honor from the Argentine Foundation for Poetry. So,
very good. All right. Without further ado, shall we start?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Llega en cada tormenta. ¿Y no sientes acaso tú también un dolor tormentoso sobre la piel del tiempo, como de cicatriz que vuelve a abrirse allí donde fue descuajado de raíz el cielo? ¿Y no sientes a veces que aquella noche, junto a sus jirones en una ave agorera, que hay un batir de alas contra el techo, como un entrechocar de inmensas hojas de primavera en duelo, o de palmas que llaman a morir? ¿Y no sientes después que el expulsado llora, que es un rescoldo de ángel caído en el umbral, aventado de pronto igual que la mendiga por una ráfaga extranjera? ¿Y no sientes conmigo que pasa sobre ti una casa que rueda hacia el abismo con un chocar de losa trizada por el rayo, con dos trajes vacíos que se abrazan para un viaje sin fin, con un chirriar de ejes que se quiebran de pronto como las rotas frases del amor? ¿Y no sientes entonces que tu lecho se hunde como la nave de una catedral arrastrada por la caída de los cielos, y que un agua viscosa corre sobre tu cara hasta el juicio final? Es otra vez el legamo de nuevo, el corazón arrojado en el fondo del estanque, prisionero de nuevo entre las ondas con que se cierra su sueño. Tiéndete como yo en esta miserable eternidad de un día. Es inútil aullar, de estas aguas no beben las bestias del olvido.
It Comes in Every Storm, translated by Mary Crow. And don't you feel also, perhaps, a stormy sorrow on the skin of time, like a scar that opens again there where the sky was uprooted? And don't you feel sometimes how that night gathers its tatters into an ominous bird? That there's a beating of wings against the roof, like a clash among immense spring leaves struggling, or of hands clapping to summon you to death? And don't you feel afterwards someone exiled is crying, that there's an ember of a fallen angel on the threshold, brought suddenly like a beggar by an alien gust of wind? And don't you feel, like me, that a house rolling toward the abyss runs over you with a crash of crockery shattered by lightning, with two empty shells embracing each other for an endless journey, with a screech of axles suddenly fractured like love's broken promises? And don't you feel then your bed sinking like the nave of a cathedral crashed by the fall of heaven, and that a thick, heavy water runs over your face till the final judgment? Again, it's the slime. Again, your heart thrown into the depth of the pool, prisoner once more among the waves, closing a dream. Lie down as I do in this miserable eternity of one day. It's useless to howl. From these waters, the beasts of oblivion don't drink.
Very nice, both of you. Thank you so much. Let me ask you a bit, Travis Wade, and Arlie, too, about translating poetry, because I would imagine you have to be so careful with the translation to preserve the original thoughts. And
yeah, so it's something that's been done in poetry quite a bit, but it's also something that poets and translators in poetry are very, very careful with. There's obviously some subjectiveness when it comes to that translation, and trying to make sure that the context and the intent of the writing is never swayed with or never taken from. That's a very difficult job. And so I think it's always really nice for people to hear the original version in the way that the writer had actually written it.
Right.
Because we can have so many different translations, I suppose.
Very true. And are there official translations, I guess, then, that are accepted or endorsed by the poet, if possible?
I'm sure there probably is by certain poets that are still living. I know that certain translators, as far as academics, are better, or better, quote unquote. But I think it's also preference. I mean, I know there's a lot of translations of Neruda, for example, and some are really, really beautiful, and some maybe, not as beautiful.
Right. Interesting. And if they're done during the poet's lifetime, I suppose, the poet can then chime in as to whether he or she likes that particular version, but
of course,
if not,
right,
then we're left with what we have.
Right,
All
exactly.
Right. Let me have you two continue with the next selection, and what is this one?
Our next one is Siete Piedras, and a little bit about Marjorie Agustin. Marjorie Agustin was born in Chile in 1955. She began writing poetry as a child, and after her family moved to Athens, Georgia in 1969, she continued to write poems in Spanish. She received her BA from the University of Georgia and then continued on with her MA and PhD from Indiana University. Agustin is the author of numerous poetry collections, which include Toward the Splendid City, winner of the 1995 Latino Literature Prize. She's also the author of several works of prose, including I Lived on Butterfly Hill.
7 Stones, translated by Cola Franzine. Today I picked up 7 stones resembling birds and orphans in the dead sand. I looked at them as if they were offerings of uncommon times, as if they were 7 endangered travelers, like a sorceress. I came near and very gently moistened them against my cheek. I wanted to be 7 stones inside my skin, to be, for an instant, very round and smooth, so somebody would pick me up and make clefts in my sides with the damp voice of the wind. I wanted you to pick me up, to kiss me, so I could be a river stone in your estuary mouth. I keep the 7 stones in my pocket. They make a mound in my hand, and in the stories of absences, a mossy sound.
Siete piedras. Hoy recogí 7 piedras. Parecían pájaros y huérfanas en la arena difunta. Las miré como si fueran obsequios de tiempos raros, como si fueran 7 viajeras amenazadas. Me acerqué, maga, y así muy dulce las humedecí con mis mejillas. Quise ser 7 piedras en mi tez, por un instante ser muy lisa y ronca, para que alguien me recoja y haga de mí hendiduras con la voz de un viento humedecido. Quise que me recojas, me beses, para ser piedra del río, en tu boca de estuarios. Guardé en mi delantal las 7 piedras. Hacían una loma en mi mano. Eran en mis historias de ausencias un sonido enmojecido.
Thank you both. Thank you both very much. Lots of imagery in that selection particularly, and others, but that is what you find in poetry. And Travis Wade, I imagine you teach your students that when they're trying to maybe write poetry, this is kind of what we're looking for, is imagery and vocabulary and things along that line?
Yeah, imagery, word choice. I think one of the things that's really spectacular in hearing these poems in Spanish is the musicality.
Yes,
and
true.
the rhythm that you get to hear when it's written in its original language.
Well, and read so well by our guest, Harley. Thank you for doing that, yes.
Thank you.
But there is some rhythm and some...
Definitely, and I think that's something that we're often trying to do. I'm often trying to do with my students. One of the things that I think is wonderful about poetry is that it's meant to be read out loud, and so hence why we,
Yes.
we want to put on an event and
Right.
and have this read out loud. To
We can't
other
just print
students.
them in a newsletter and get the same effect. That's
Right.
so very, very true.
Right.
And so it's wonderful. And you have one more for us, or a couple more for us?
Yes, one more for
Okay.
us. So this is obviously Pablo Neruda. Born July 12th, 1904, died September 23rd, 1973, Chilean poet, diplomat, and politician. Neruda became known as a poet when he was only 13 years old. He wrote in a variety of styles, including surrealist poems, historical epics, overtly political manifestos, a prose autobiography, and of course some of his more passionate love poems, such as the one in 20 Love Poems, and also the 100 Love Sonnets, which is what we'll be reading from.
Amor, de grano a grano, de planeta a planeta, la red del viento con sus países sombríos, la guerra con sus zapatos de sangre, o bien el día y la noche de la espiga. Por donde fuimos, islas o puentes o banderas, violines del fugaz otoño acribillado, repitió la alegría los labios de la copa. El dolor nos detuvo con su lección de llanto. En todas las repúblicas desarrollaba el viento su pabellón impune, su glacial cabellera, y luego regresaba la flor a sus trabajos. Pero en nosotros nunca se calcinó el otoño, y en nuestra patria inmóvil germina y crecía el amor con los derechos del rocío.
Love. From seed to seed, from planet to planet, the wind with its net through the darkening nations, war with its bloody shoes, or even the day with a thorny night. Wherever we went, islands or bridges or flags, there were the violins of the fleeting autumn, bullet-laced, happiness echoing at the rim of the wine glass, sorrow detaining us with its lesson of tears. Through all those republics, the wind whipped, its arrogant pavilions, its glacial hair. It would return the flowers later to their work. But no withering autumn ever touched us. In our stable place a love sprouted, grew, as rightfully empowered as the dew.
Very nice. Great selections, Travis. Thank you for putting them together for us this morning. And so, what can we learn from these things, these poets and these messages? I mean, it seems like there's a theme. There's a lot of love going on in these words, I think, and help us to understand maybe what we can learn from some of this.
Yeah, I think one of the things to bring together, not only here, this morning, but also with the event and with poetry and with translation, and then of course with Hispanic Heritage Month, is just this idea of connectedness, this idea that we're not as far removed as we think. We all have emotions, we all have stories, we all have places we come from, and I think all of those are what make us human beings. And so just kind of bring some awareness and bring some compassion, I think.
Right. Very true. Those universal themes that have been going on forever. I mean, people have been writing about love, singing about love, talking about love and family and friendships and all these different types of things for millennia. I mean, really.
Definitely. And transcends through cultures as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's not just an American thing or a North American thing or a South American thing. It is a global thing.
Right.
And so I think it's important, especially this month, to shine some light on that and to shine some light on these Hispanic poets who really, I don't think we hear as often as we should.
Definitely.
And it's a wonderful thing. Arely, I know when you're working here at San Juan College, working with students and things along that line, again, it's a great part of the world that we are focusing on for the next month, and it's really important to maybe celebrate and lift up some of these themes and some of these things that these great Hispanics have contributed to our world over the past world history.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you've mentioned, it's a whole month that's dedicated to celebrate the contributions of Hispanics throughout our country, throughout the world. But in particular, here at San Juan College, we have a few events, a few things that we have going on. We kicked it off today with our poetry. Later on today, we'll be joining Fort Lewis College. We have some of our students we'll be taking to kick off their celebration for the month. But we have other fun things that will be going on as well. October 1st, and I think I might be jumping around. I don't have the list with me. October 1st, we'll be having our Fiesta in the Plaza, where we'll be having some young performers. We'll be having the young girls from Miss New Mexico Latina who will be coming to show us their traditional dresses.
Right.
We're really excited about that. They'll be talking a little bit about the dresses they've chosen and why they chose the dresses, as well as community resources that offer their services in Spanish for our community. This is, of course, open to everybody, so we hope to see as many of you there. We'll also be having an Aguas Frescas and painting event. Those painting classes with wine seem to have become very popular. So we'll be mixing it up a little bit, and we'll be having our Aguas Frescas that we've become known for, which are our flavored waters, for our students. And we'll be having Marcy Clark from Painting with Class that will be doing a Dia de los Muertos theme for us. We're really excited about that. You know, we're inviting our students to come and de-stress and just have some fun painting, something beautiful they'll be able to hang up wherever they would like. We'll also be having this Friday, we're having the New Mexico Dream Team, a group of young students from UNM will be joining us, and they'll be they'll be having a workshop for us, and their focus will be immigration as well as supporting our undocumented students in and outside of the classroom. That will take place at 12 o'clock. We'll have more information on the location later on today.
Okay.
But that's something that should definitely be taken we should take advantage of as well. To learn more about why we immigrate, how we arrived to this country, and how we could better support our students. I often have colleagues reach out and ask how they can make their support a little more visible to our students and what they could do for them. So this will be a great workshop to be able to learn a little bit more.
Very good.
And we'll be putting our calendar out as well later today with more details on all of our events.
Okay, and we can find that on your Facebook pages?
Right, absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Or the website here at San Juan College?
Yes, our Facebook page, if you go to your Facebook search, it'll be Enlace, ENLACE, Enlace San Juan College, or Herencia Latina Center on Facebook. And that's where we'll be posting all of our information as well as through email. And
Perfect.
We'll have them throughout campus as well.
Very good. And Travis Wade, you mentioned an event that you were working on as well here at San Juan College, and you want to put another plug in for that?
Yeah, so October 7th, 3 p.m., I believe in the student lounge, we're going to be putting on a kind of the same idea, so some translative
Nice.
Translation, some poems. We'll be having students, some Hispanic students doing the Spanish versions, and hopefully some other students will participate in doing the English versions, so that we can just get some back and forth going and get some awareness of some of these poets and have some students, kind of come together.
Right. Which is always
nice.
great.
Yeah,
and they can
absolutely.
test their public speaking skills.
Definitely.
Yes.
Which is always nice.
So if they come to my class, they'll be all set.
Right.
All right, very good. Well, and let me remind our audience as well that KSJE every Friday from 7 to 9 presents Concierto, which is a great program that highlights the work of Hispanic composers and musicians in the classical music world. And that's not just for this month, but year-round from 7 to 9 a.m. on Fridays here on KSJE. So we're proud to be able to present that great program. So it's great to have you both here this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for your support and for having us on your show.
You're very welcome. And we'll have more throughout the month here on KSJE every Monday. So thank you all for joining us, everyone. I'm Scott Michlin. I'll be back with more in just a moment. The time right now is coming up on 8:37. Did you enjoy that podcast? We hope that you did. And if you did, share it with your friends. And if you really want to keep podcasts like this coming, please support KSJE. You can do it easily online at ksje.com.